Welcome back to the KickNPost YouTube channel with our new show, Teal and Steel, your weekly coverage on NFL news, highlights, fantasy, eventually gambling, even though Matt don't partake.
Not really, not too much.
Not too much, but we're going to hop into our weekly coverage of our teams. So we'll start off with Teal, a.k.a. the JAGS, which I was really high on week one, going into Washington. Carson Wentz, hopefully reliving some of those demons, losing to my Jags again in an important game, his Washington Commanders debut. But they had other plans for us. We lose the game 28-22. I saw a lot of good things out of my team. I'm not sure what you want to say about it necessarily. But me personally, I saw a lot of drives that ended in the red zone outside of, we didn't punt very much, which is something I'm not used to from our team usually. Trevor looked good. Travis Etienne looks decent. James Robinson looks like he got a leg transplant. The man was on a different level.
I don't know what he did.
I mean, Akers came off the ACL injury last year. Looked really shoddy. I don't know who James Robinson's surgeon is, but this man looked amazing coming off the ACL injury. But we weren't able to pull the dub out. As a fan of the Jags, I see a lot of potential in our team, but I'm a little bit disappointed. Defense played okay. It is the Commanders. I was hoping for a little bit more. Held them to 28 points. That's still a bit high for a Commanders team that I think wasn't clicking on all cylinders yet. But a lot to see in the first game, I think.
Let's give him props though, because Dotson was playing good. McLaurin had that one play. It was a solid looking team. Wentz was doing his thing a little bit.
Curtis Samuel, sorry Chris, you told me I wasn't a strong believer in the Curtis Samuel hype.
He's right. He called it.
He played well. Not gonna have him on that he's going to be Washington's CMC, but he did play well.
Mm-hmm.
Washington's defense missing Chase Young, so this isn't even the best Commanders team we'll see. I think Chase Young's going to be out for an extended period of time, though. So a lot to take away, but I need to see more from our team in the red zone. We had, I think, about 6 red zone visits, only left with 2 touchdowns. Can't win games that way.
They're young. It's going to be like that for a little bit. There's going to be some growing pains. But I'd say overall, there's a lot to take away from that game for y'all. I mean, I didn't think that they were going to win it personally. Did you say that they were going to win in that prediction?
I had a complete Jags win. I've been saying it from the start of the summer that that's what we're going to be on. A little bit disheartening, but at least we're competitive. We were up with, I think, about 3 minutes left in the fourth. Again, we're just a young team. It's hard for a team that hasn't developed from a maturity standpoint to really execute in those moments, but a lot to take away from it. Fantasy-wise, I always hop into my fantasy. James Robinson is a must-add if you don't have him on your bench. That man...
You probably got him for the cheap, too.
Exactly.
You drafted him.
Exactly. Legit 50-50 split. Looked really, like we said, filled with bursts coming off the Achilles injury. Travis Etienne owners, I know, might be in a little bit of a stink. Maybe a little bit worried. They were hoping for higher usage.
I'm concerned.
I'm personally okay with it. Watching the game, every play of the game. I was watching the condensed game on NFL Plus. You guys should check that out if you have an opportunity to. But watching the game condensed, he had a fair amount of snaps. He still got a fair amount of targets. Yes, he's not getting as much rushing attempts, but I feel like he's a guy that you could kind of, if it continues this way and our offense progresses, you could see him in a very Alvin Kamara type role. Like when they had Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, both those guys ate. Mark Ingram was the hammer. Kamara was on the field for those pass-catching plays, getting between the tackles, getting 10 to 12 receptions a game. I could see Travis Etienne eventually evolving into that type of player. But it's early. The offense isn't amazing.
It is week 1.
So let's not overreact. But as a Jags fan, I had a lot to be happy about, even though we lost. Unlike Steel over here, where they weren't looking forward to much on the field. Everybody was worried about Joe Burr, right? That Cincinnati offense, adding a better offensive line, supposedly. Sorry, Chris. I didn't see it in this first game.
Man, Chris, really disrespecting the Steelers. I'm looking at you, Chris, taking that dub. I know he's mad.
Yes. I remember early in the morning, it was just straight text messages I was just sending him, bruh. And then he's like, what's wrong? And I was like, bruh, again? And he's like, no, it's cool, we're going to win. I'm like, bruh. He's like, oh, I just doubled down. They're definitely going to win. They produced on offense like we know they can. They did have a couple drives that ended in poor decisions from Joe Burrow to say the least, ended from poor play calling from Zach Taylor.
But elite
Yes.
defense from the Steelers. How many takeovers? Like 4? 5?
At least 5. I think
5
it was
turnovers.
6, but I think it was at least 5.
I think it was like 3 picks, 2 forced fumbles. A very great day for my Steelers. Steelers Nation out here. We doing our thing. I love it.
So going into this game, there's no way you guys thought you would win.
Mm-hmm.
We already discussed that. But you lose a very essential piece going forward for at least 6 weeks. Reports are coming out 6 weeks minimum. TJ Watt. What does your team do in a situation where you're leading pass rusher? I would say arguably the heartbeat of your defense. Minka's a close second. But what do you do with TJ Watt on the sidelines to apply pressure to other teams' quarterbacks?
I mean, I think it will still be. I mean, you're losing the defensive player of the year. That's a tough loss. You can't replace that. So I'm not going to look at it as replacing him. But we still have people like Minka. We still have other players on the defense that are doing really good. And Alawalu, Hayward. I mean, we have a lot of good players on the team. What I really want to see, though, is better efficiency on the offense. And I know it's going to be growing pains. Mitchell Trubisky's our quarterback. It's going to take some time. I get that. But we have a lot of weapons. I mean, hopefully Najee's foot ankle isn't anything serious. We have Deontay. We have George Pickens. We have Claypool. We have plenty of people. Now our O-line's a little shoddy.
Didn't do much to address it.
Didn't really do much at all. So that is a concern that I have. But losing someone like TJ Watt, I think the only thing we really can do is just be more efficient on offense. When we do get those turnovers and we do have those plays that we make on defense and they come on the offensive side, make something happen. Capitalize. That to me is the biggest thing. That's the only way you can make going without TJ Watt for six games. That's the only thing that can make up for that in my eyes.
Did Mitch have any turnovers?
I don't think he did.
I think that's a big talking point as well. Though the game stayed close for a lot of the game, I will have to say Mitch not having any turnovers is a huge deal for that offense. Even though you guys weren't able to complete drives, you guys didn't give the Cincinnati Bengals a short field at any point in time or extra possessions, while Cincinnati gave you guys 5 to 6 more opportunities to put points on the board.
Yeah.
So I think that is, going forward with a shoddy offensive line, he was able to get out of the pocket, scramble, make things happen, especially overtime, getting that pass to Pat Fryermuth, getting you guys kind of like in field goal range. If he's able to do that for the entire year, just keep plays alive with his legs, which coming out of North Carolina, that is the one thing we said, even though he had a lot to learn as a play caller, he had athleticism. If he's able to utilize that for the whole year, it doesn't matter how shoddy your offensive line is. One of the big things I took away from this is we might be waiting to see Kenny Pickett. You guys spend that 20th pick in the draft this year on Kenny Pickett, where I'm not going to say the best available offensive linemen were still there, but there were opportunities to draft an offensive lineman and wait to see what's in the draft next year at quarterback. It's week 1. We don't want to overreact. But how do you see your team progressing towards like a playoff opportunity if you guys keep winning games and you didn't spend that pick on the offensive line and Kenny Pickett rides the bench the whole year? Obviously, it's not like an Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love type situation because it's Mr. Trubisky. Let's slow down. But if you guys find yourself in a situation where you could be in the playoffs and you could have improved your offensive line, as a fan, how do you feel about the Kenny Pickett pick?
I mean, how I look at it is like, we're talking about what if. What if we make the playoffs? At the time, we didn't know. We didn't know if we were going to make the playoffs or not. If they think that Kenny Pickett is that guy, I trust that. I trust Mike Tomlin. I trust what they got going on over there. We've never had a losing season in what? A long time.
Since I've been watching football pretty much.
Ever since Mike Tomlin was head coach.
Yeah.
So I have no hate towards it. Kenny Pickett, if he doesn't start this whole year, I am fine with it. As long as that man, whenever he is under center, he is ready to go, that's what I'm happy about. So if it's next year, if we make it to the playoffs this year and we lose, and the offensive line is like what Cincinnati was last year, where it was very noticeable, you know what? It is what it is. No one really expected us to make it this far, and if we do make it that far, awesome. But if not, next year, maybe we can address those issues, spend our first round pick on it, maybe even our second round, first 2 picks. We already have good defensive players. We already have offensive weapons. Really, all we need to do next year is just focus on offensive linemen, free agency. I'm okay with it. If you think that's the guy.
The checkbook out, though. Like, right now, you guys have good defensive players and solid offensive players, but to keep your team intact, you're going to have to pull the checkbook out.
But who's coming up soon? for our paycheck.
Deontay?
We already paid Deontay.
We paid Deontay.
Najee still has
Minka's paid.
Minka's paid. TJ Watt's paid. Cam Hayward's paid.
Yeah.
I don't know what else we would have to worry about. What else do we have to pay for?
You're right. Offensive linemen don't take that much money usually as well.
Especially rookies.
Even though Quentin Nelson's resetting the market for a lot of linemen, he got a big bag recently too. So if you guys do find a guy, obviously not on Quentin Nelson's level, you guys are going to have to pay that type of money. Offensive line issues can be solved in free agency. Again, we don't want to overreact and call this team a playoff team necessarily. But I do want to hop into some overreactions on the fantasy side of things. Yes, week 1 had a lot of interesting things play out. A lot of interesting things playing out. There's a lot of strategies in fantasy this year, especially redraft. There was the hero RB strategy, the zero RB strategy, the of course hammering RBs early strategy. In week 1, the 0 to hero RB strategists are rejoicing. Top 5 scorers, I'm pretty sure in fantasy, were all wide receivers outside of Saquon and Kelsey. Saquon, we'll get back to that later, but we're talking about strategy right now. Do you think it's an overreaction for zero RB truthers to think that they have already figured out the formula to win the league?
A little bit. I would say it's still really important to have good running backs. And if you get to that 3rd, 4th round, you start getting to this dip where there are no running backs. And now you're in a situation where you're just hoping on certain players. So I don't think that it's, it's not my type. I don't want to go into a draft and think I'm just going to have a zero RB strat where I just take running backs later. I think it's still valuable. It's still, a position that is, there's not a lot of good running backs, whereas wide receivers, there's a ton of them. But I will say, though, the Justin Jeffersons, the Cooper Kupps, the Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, they are elite. And I will say,
they had huge weeks.
I will say, maybe even, I don't want to, it's still week 1, but I'm already starting thinking about next year, because I don't do that strat. You know what strat I do.
Yeah.
I like to go 2 elite running backs back to back. I like to secure that position and then just start, bam, wide receivers. So I get a lot of those Michael Pittmans. I get a lot of those, later ones that go into the 4th round and later. But after seeing this, I'm already starting to think about next year wanting to secure, an elite receiver, an elite running back, and then maybe do the hero running back?
Yeah.
Maybe even do something more like that. Try to get one of those top 5 receivers because they seem to be very consistent. That's the trend that we're going to nowadays. So I get it, but I will say it's a little bit of a reaction. Still week 1. Let's give it some time.
I mean, the people who waited on running backs like Kareem Hunt was a favorite of the zero RBs. Chase Edmonds obviously was a favorite of the zero RBs. We had players like CEH falling low enough where he was a favorite of the zero RB truthers. And all those players produced at a pretty high level for where they went draft-wise. While we look at the 4th round running backs, the 3rd round running backs, Aaron Jones struggled. Zeke struggled.
Yep.
Elijah Mitchell's out for 2 months now. So, obviously, these are not things you could predict preseason. And even if you go with the hitting RBs early, Austin Eckler didn't have the best day. Outside of Barkley, CMC didn't have the best day. Najee didn't have the best day. So, of course, they're running away with it this week. But it's week 1. I think it's still an overreaction. Obviously, if you're in PPR, you're living life. If you stacked a Devontae Adams and a Cooper Kupp, or a Stephon Diggs and a Cooper Kupp, or a Stephon Diggs and a Devontae Adams.
You have a Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams duo, don't you?
I do, which leads me to my next question. Tight ends. On that same exact team, I stacked Adams, Diggs, and Travis Kelce.
Crazy.
100 points off 3 players. Right? A lot of people are saying, man, tight ends are still shot in fantasy. If you don't have Travis Kelce, you have no one. What is your stance on that? Overreaction? Or, they're right. They're onto something.
Kind of an overreaction. I will agree. Kelce is the number 1 tight end. If you get your hands on Kelce, you are looking good for this year.
He drafted 101 for tight ends.
I will say it's a little disrespectful to Mark Andrews. You can't be disrespecting Mark Andrews like this. This man had not a great first game, I will admit, but let's see how everything goes going forward. It's only been 1 week. Mark Andrews was the number 1 tight end last year. Let's kind of pump the brakes a little bit on this. Let's see how it goes going forward. So we'll see. But I will admit, Travis Kelce is the one. And if you got your hands on Travis Kelce this whole year, you're probably going to be chilling. And you have an elite receiver in your tight end slot. Whereas I'm over here playing Dalton Schultz, and I had Mark Andrews on my team. I had Dallas Goedert. They only got me around 10 points. Nothing crazy, right? Travis Kelce got you how many? Like 28?
33.
33.
33
That's right.
points.
We have a tight end premium.
Yeah.
So.
Which, I saw a stat. Travis Kelce outscored the other top 5 tight ends on the week by himself this week. Insane value. He was going second round, early second round. If you're willing to invest that price, if you're in redraft, he was somebody I wanted on a lot of teams. He just kept going up and up in ADP. He's proving dividends right now. Plays Thursday night against the Chargers, not Kansas City. Until they figure out their wide receiver situation in Kansas City, I feel like he's still going to get high volume, high touches. First game for Kansas City was good. They bounced the ball around. Juju got good touches. Love to see what I saw to Juju. Definitely the wide receiver 1 on the team right now. Mecole Hardman, don't love him that much, but he had a decent day as well.
In super deep leagues, I can understand having him on your bench, and if you need to in a desperate situation.
Or a best ball situation where you don't have to set a lineup. Give me Mecole Hardman shares. Sky
Juju,
Moore.
I'm happy with.
Sky Moore. No.
I'm not out on him yet. That's another thing that we can talk about. A lot of rookie wide receivers, a lot of people are down on them. This is week 1. Since when have we ever put those kind of receivers, rookie wide receivers, first game, and we're already kind of judging them? Yeah, I wouldn't start him. I wouldn't start Sky Moore, but you didn't draft him to start him week 1.
Some people did.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
that's
some people did. Some people invested highly in these guys.
Like, I got Olave, and I love him, but he only gave me like 8 points. But I didn't start him. I got him in like the 13th round. I got him because I want to see what he does in the second half. I got him because what happens if Michael Thomas isn't that guy. Like, that's why I got him, and I'm happy with that, and I'll see what he does later on in the season. And I think that's something that people like Sky Moore, I don't think we should be down on him yet. Still week 1.
I think he's buried on the depth chart a little bit right now, and if they don't...
Sky Moore's situation is a little bit concerning, but we'll see how it goes.
If they don't suffer injuries, I don't see him really climbing up the depth chart that quickly. This offense is clicking. They're not going to change much. Travis Kelce is the offense. Everything else kind of works around that. If Juju plays nice well enough, they're not going to worry too much about Sky Moore right now.
And I will say, for CEH, I would say it's a little bit of overreaction. He got a good first week.
Yes.
But let's pump the brakes a little bit. I'd say he's worth starting just to see how everything goes until he shows you wrong, but I'm not trusting him.
I'm giving him... He split pretty evenly with Jerick McKinnon to start the year. So I'm giving him time to, if he wants to take a stronghold of that position. If you have CEH, hopefully he's your RB3. But again, if you're one of the zero RB truthers, he's probably your RB1 or 2. There's room for excitement, but let's pump the brakes. One guy who I see a lot of people being out on, overreaction or underreaction on this player, Dameon Pierce.
Overreaction.
Dameon Pierce was climbing to the 4th and 5th round of redraft leagues. He got outtouched by Rex Burkhead in a close game. People are worried now. Do they have reason to be worried?
No, I wouldn't be worried. I mean, it's like what I was saying about Sky Moore. This is a rookie week 1, and they were winning the game. A game they probably weren't even expecting to win. They're probably going to go with Old Faithful. Rex Burkhead, he's been there. He knows the offense. He knows what's going on. They're giving him the ball. I have no problems with that. If you drafted Dameon Pierce, you didn't draft him to help you week 1. You drafted him because of the potential that he had to give you at some point. So we know at some point he has the talent. We know what he can do. Eventually he's going to be able to take off. And when he does, it's going to come back. Now, I will say 4th, 5th round picks on someone like him, that's your own fault. That's your own fault. No one told you to do that. I drafted him a couple times, but when did I draft him? 12th round.
Late, yeah.
I think the earliest I got him was at like the 9th round at one of my leagues. That right there, that's fine. You draft guys at this point to possibly be able to give you something at some point.
That's awesome value. That's awesome. I wasn't able. I pumped his ADP up on my own in a few videos. By the time I got in those leagues, he was going way too high. I would have loved 9th and 10th round Dameon Pierce, but I would have not even 6th round Dameon Pierce I wanted any parts of. Right? Like you said, it's early. It's the rookies. Yeah. Breece Hall also suffered his situation where he's in a pretty much 50-50 split with Michael Carter. Give it time. Talent will prevail eventually, so I don't want to overreact too much. We'll call that overreaction if you are out on Dameon Pierce. Final question for fantasy.
Okay.
Going into week 2, is there a wide receiver or running back or a couple of them, that underperformed heavily that you're throwing right back in the starting lineup week 2?
I think Mike Williams and Allen Robinson, right off the bat, hot takes.
Hot takes.
They're still startable, and I think you still have to start them. That's my opinion.
I have people who are willing to drop Allen Robinson off of one game.
That to me is crazy. I get it. It was a bad first week. I get it. He didn't get a lot of throws. He didn't get a lot of targets. But you drafted him. How much did you pay to get him? You have to start him week 2.
He was a 4th or 5th round.
You have to start him. And if he doesn't produce in the first 3 weeks, okay, maybe we're on to something. But it was first week. Matthew Stafford had his injury. Probably didn't get a ton of reps in without Robinson. It was a tough matchup. He went with old reliable. He went with Cooper Kupp. Forced it. He gave the ball to Higbee a little bit. And I understand it. I get the concept. You know, you weren't able to get a lot of reps in without Robinson. But I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on that. And I think Mike Williams, even though you can attest to this, I've never been big on Mike Williams.
Usually I'm not either.
Never have. But now that Keenan Allen's out, you still have to start him. It's a high-tier offense. Yeah. You have to put him in there. You paid a good price to put him in the offense or have him on your team. So let's not be out on them yet. It's still week 1.
If there's a team for Allen Robinson to break out against, it is the Atlanta Falcons.
It is.
If there's a team for Mike Williams to break out against, I get it. The Chiefs defense played well against Las Vegas. Devontae Adams went 10 for 140 something, I think, against them this week. I think it's a good week.
You said it was the numbers to the Chiefs?
Yeah.
You mean the Chargers?
The Chargers versus the Chiefs, yeah. So if there's a team for the Mike Williams to break out,
I got you.
It's against the Chiefs. Yeah, you got me.
Yeah,
you got me. Yeah, because the Chiefs actually locked down Arizona. But who's Arizona's number 1?
Marquise Brown.
It's not the same type of player.
No. I like
Far
him.
from the same type of player. Do you have Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert in the same realm of quarterbacking?
No.
Exactly.
No.
So, I know Matt don't like his lines. Mike Williams, 58.5 receiving yards. I got to.
I might sound like an idiot.
I got to do it.
But I still wouldn't put money on it. I didn't draft him anywhere.
Over? Got to do it.
I didn't draft him anywhere. I wouldn't put money on the fact that this man does it. But I will say, if you want that, if you like Mike Williams, this is the perfect time to do it. I will say that.
I have him in the starting lineup.
I'll think about it.
For sure. 58.5? Against
that could be one big play. You know what I mean?
They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. This should be a high-scoring game. If Mike Williams cannot get you 60 yards against the Chiefs with literally nobody else to pass to, you might need to drop him.
Then we can talk about something.
You might need to put him on waivers.
We could bring this conversation back at that point.
If Gerald Everett outscores Mike Williams
again
this week, it might be time to drop Mike Williams.
Don't drop him. Just bench him.
No, it might be time.
Bench him.
We're dropping him. You are the bag he got this offseason. If he can't do it, we're dropping him.
You know what? Drop him.
Exactly.
Drop him. Let your other teammates pick him up.
Mike Thomas. Okay. Slant boy. 5 for 52 and 2 touchdowns. The comeback win against Atlanta. He's a guy that I didn't really have on my list. He's elevated his play. People didn't know what to expect out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Saints receivers all locked in on your lineups right now? Well, him, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave to a certain degree.
I'll hold off on Olave a little bit. Like I said, I want to see what he does a little more. I think at one point, sometime later down the season, he could have a really good role in the offense where he is startable, but not yet. But Jarvis Landry, that's a start to me.
Really? So you're not feeling? You're feeling Landry, but no Olave?
Not yet.
Okay.
But I like Landry right now, and I've never been big on Michael Thomas. I didn't draft him in any of my leagues at all. He's been on one of the people that I've kind of avoided. Too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
But I will say, it's hard to sit here and say that you can't start him. He's startable, 100%. This man was, one of the best wide receivers in the league at one point, and he had a pretty good week 1. So I'd continue to start him.
We hopped into wide receivers that we panicked about pretty early. Allen Robinson, Mike Williams. There's a few running backs that there is room to hit that panic button. Kamara had a rough week.
Yep.
Najee, barring that touchdown, had a rough week. Yeah. I know we expected him to be high volume. He got hurt. He scored. But yes, he did have a rough week outside of that touchdown.
Yep.
Cam Akers had a rough week.
I'm not going to lie.
Where are you on these 3 running backs right now? If you had to cut one, bench one, start one. And I know the cut one's pretty easy.
The cut
one's pretty easy.
Yeah.
But you have Kamara and you have Najee. Both healthy.
Okay.
Obviously, we know Najee's dealing with a foot/ankle injury. Both healthy.
Clarify.
Who are you hopping in?
I'm cutting Akers.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy.
I'm almost completely out of it. Just to kind of pivot real quick.
Yeah.
I've pretty much never drafted Akers. I've avoided him. I didn't like him. And now look where we're at. Didn't I say this back then?
It's week one.
Well, Henderson's better.
It's week one. It's week one.
We'll see. But okay, benching though, I mean, this one's easy to me. You got to bench Najee. And I'm a Steelers fan.
Really? I'm surprised you...
Kamara is healthy.
Yeah.
I'm starting Kamara.
But I said if both are healthy.
Oh, both are healthy.
I'm giving you because Najee came out today and said, I'm healthy. I'm practicing this week. I'm playing this week on Sunday. So,
completely healthy.
If he's not lying to us, Najee or Kamara going into the second week, if you had to choose to play one.
Changes things a little bit for me, but Kamara.
Okay.
Starting Kamara.
Okay.
Why would I not do that? What have I always said? I'm going to pick the players that are on a good team. And I love my Steelers. And I know we took the week one dub. And I'm happy. But you cannot sit here and tell me that offense looked efficient. That looked good. The New Orleans Saints had a good offense. I mean, it took them a little bit. It took them a little to get some points up. But you still have Jameis on there. You still have other people doing their thing.
Yeah.
It's a good offense. They're going to have more opportunities. I'd rather have Kamara. That hurts me to say that. But until I see some more efficiency on the Steelers, then I'd be more on Najee, personally.
I know you like your good offenses. You like your good offenses, your good players on good offenses. But to close out, I have to hop into a slight rant to everyone who was against the Saquon Barkley drafting this year. He's not on a good offense. He was a number 2 NFL draft pick. Not fantasy draft pick. NFL draft pick. Number 2 selected by the Giants. We knew he was coming into the year healthy. I know it's week 1. This might be an overreaction. But Saquon Barkley came out the gates and reminded everybody why he was at one point, as a rookie, the 101 drafted player in fantasy drafts. This week, came back to full health, 164 on the ground, if I'm not mistaken, a touchdown. Pretty sure 8 catches, over 40 yards. Went bananas. So to close out, I told y'all to draft Saquon. Where do you stand on Saquon now? If you had to redraft today, where would Saquon go?
Not an overreaction at all. I will admit, Amal was on it for a long time. He got clips up. Check out the TikTok and everything. He got it up there. And I've been on the board too a little bit. I've been it, but I was never as much as him though. I didn't draft him.
You were avoiding it.
I had opportunities, but I didn't hate him. Not an overreaction. 100%. If I had to redraft right now, probably a first round pick for me.
Exactly.
Probably a first round pick. So far.
Exactly.
As long as that man can stay healthy, probably a first round pick.
That's every fantasy player.
And I will admit, so the Giants, not a great team.
No.
Produced very well. So that makes me kind of go back to Najee a little bit.
Yes.
I got to think about that one a little bit.
Oh, God. How you switching 5 minutes to record?
Najee is he's so good, though.
Not the same athlete as Saquon. I'm sure you will agree. Not the same athlete as Saquon.
No, Saquon, and probably one of the best. Would you say Jonathan Taylor's a little more athletic?
No.
I'd say Saquon's more athletic.
Yeah. Just cutting and change of direction. I think Saquon has
athleticism-wise, he's probably the most athletic.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he may not be the best running back yet. Top 5 running back.
Yeah.
But you still have your, CMCs that could potentially get there. You still have your Jonathan Taylors that had a great week 1. I don't know if I'd say he's the best one so far, but he's still a first-round pick for me, most likely. So. Now, if you had the 1-1, though, and you're going running back, who would you pick up? Saquon or Jonathan Taylor?
Call me drunk, but Saquon. Saquon.
That's a
Saquon.
Statement.
Saquon.
Spicy.
He's the whole offense.
Spicy.
He's the best player on that offense. Daniel Jones, when he looks for an outlet, it's Saquon. Who's breaking it for 70 yards effortlessly? It's Saquon. If that man's healthy, it's Saquon. We're going Saquon 101 redraft. Probably 101 dynasty as well. You could clip it. We are going Saquon
we'll have to come
every
back to this.
single time.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I would say Jonathan Taylor still the number 1 pick.
Some people say CMC. I don't even care.
Nah, I will say second pick though. So far, as of week 1, he's the second pick for me.
Okay.
For running backs.
I'll give you that. You're coming around.
Jonathan Taylor, the thing is he doesn't get hurt.
Okay.
That matters.
One game.
That matters.
One game.
What do you mean one game? Jonathan Taylor hasn't gotten hurt, ever since?
Okay, so you're in a game. Barkley's in, his 3rd season? Anyway. This has been the first episode of Teal and Steel. Hopefully, going forward, we're going to be giving you guys full coverage on every NFL game weekly. We'll start talking lines. We'll start talking full coverage fantasy, a little bit deeper, deep plays, waiver wire pickups, all of that. But to get you guys acclimated, we hopped right into this. A quick breakdown of our teams, a quick breakdown of the fantasy highlights of the week. We'll bring it back to y'all next week on Teal and Steel, on KickNPost. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
See you.